Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, it's a 2 for Tuesday. 2 pods, 1 afternoon. Cody Bellinger dealt to the Yankees. Who's coming back from New York to play for the Cubs? We'll talk about that and more. It starts right now. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast again on Tuesday, December 17th. This time, Luke Stuckmeyer and Cody Delmendo. We had our other pod, which, if you haven't heard it, it's spectacular, right? You get Kyle Tucker, you get Jed Hoyer. We talked about the press conferences today, what we heard from Tucker. One of the comments in it was Jed Hoyer talking about and getting uncomfortable talking about the outfield surplus that he had in right field. He no longer has that surplus. Jed Hoyer has traded Cody Bellinger to the New York Yankees for $5 million from the Yankees coming back, or the Cubs are giving $5 million to the Yankees, 2.5 each year, because Bellinger can make this a 2-year deal, and the rest is a money dump, although you get Poteet coming back the other way. So they get a reliever out of it, and they get some salary relief.
You wanted to leave out the important part about Poteet?
Yep. I mean, we just talked about it in the last podcast. They do need relievers, right? Like they just lost Wisniewski.
That wasn't the point. It was more that his name.
Yeah, he's Cody. Not the important part, but for this year's team,
his name's Cody. That's what that's
the Cody. It is a Cody. That's right. Cody Bellinger, Cody on Cody trade. That's right.
Sorry, this is my comic relief for. I think I'm very just kind of whatever about this. I'm ready to see what happens next. But continue.
I don't, it is a salary dump, but I think it's too early to be totally down on it. And it's too early to be excited for somebody that might be excited that Cody Bellinger's gone for some reason. Like you've definitely taken talent and versatility off the team. There's no question about that. Was he worth the money? No. There's no question the Cubs at the end of season press conference, and we alluded to it when we ran clips of that, Jed Hoyer sounded like a guy who was trying to convince Cody Hoyer to opt out of his deal. He didn't want him to come back and take the big chunk of money, $60 million potentially over 2 more years of that deal, because he's not that player anymore.
Yeah.
He did opt in. But now that you've traded him, Ryan once suggested this, you can look at this as if Cody Bellinger opted out, and you just got a free reliever.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you want to look at it that way, fine. But he did opt in, and you could have had Cody Bellinger on the team this year. That certainly would have been a better team this year, unless they allocate the money they just saved into something else that's more useful to this team than a surplus at first base and a surplus in right field.
Right.
We don't know if that's going to happen. It's probably unlikely that all that money will get allocated. Most of it will probably go back to the Ricketts. That's just a guess. But if they were to reallocate that and move it around a little bit into something else, the closer that the Godfather has been asking for over and over and over and over, then maybe the money is well spent and you are better off spending the money somewhere else on the team than you are in the versatility, quality that you get with Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. I think in the moment, if there's any good news here is that you're not blocking Owen Casey anymore. And I said that in the last show that, they have so many outfielders, and the pro of moving Bellinger, or if they had decided to move Seiya instead, is that you get to see Owen Casey next season. And so just alone that's probably my biggest takeaway in the moment. But you're right. It's hard to judge this right now until we see how the Cubs use this money. I was actually in our Discord when the news broke.
Yeah.
And I was like waiting for the sickos to come hang out and all that. And then it happened. And I think Shane and Gary and Radio Maverick were in there. And my reaction, I think they can attest, and they might say it in the chat. Like, my reaction was pretty just like whatever, or kind of down. But I think the reason that I'm down is just because we live in a reality where the Cubs shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time, we're living in a reality that it's very, very easy to criticize this from like looking at ownership, but it's also like, what is Jed supposed to do? Like, it's just reality. Like, they don't want to be over the tax, so fine. I get it from that, and I think that's the reason I'm down on it a little bit. I always knew it was going to be a salary dump. We always knew it was. And the pro of this, not only do you not block Owen Casey, but you're also you didn't have to eat any of the money outside of that $5 million from the buyout. Like, so that's I thought they were going to have to eat, maybe $6 million, but they're sending the entire contract to the Yankees. So, in many ways, it's a win. In many ways, it's kind of like, it makes you eye roll, and it makes you be really frustrated with the leadership group, and it probably only intensifies your questions on if this team will actually give Kyle Tucker that big contract next year, right? And I think that's just a combination of how I feel right now. But I always knew this was going to happen, or I always felt like this was going to happen. It was inevitable. The Cubs. Like, I think the Cubs had leverage here, if you want to call it that. It's not like they got some haul from the Yankees. But like the point that Ryan put out there, being able to get something for Bellinger, even though he opted in, I guess that's one way to look at it. So it is what it is. I'm just ready to see what they do next.
He could have opted out, and now you just spent $5 million to get a reliever from the Yankees. Okay, it's one way to look at it. Knee-jerk reaction is it's a salary dump, and that none of the money will get spent on anybody else. But we won't know that until spring training, when the roster is finally set and they come to work. We won't know if that's part of it. And even then, we won't know if their plan is, okay, here's $60 million we could give Tucker as part of his deal. Let's save the $60 million now. I don't love that plan, just because you're the Chicago Cubs and you shouldn't be worrying about $60 million. But heck, the Yankees, fought to get $5 million back. So
yeah,
that's just as crazy. Let's just go with the last scenario, that they want to get under the tax. They want to stay under the tax. They want to dump this money. Their big play was getting Tucker, and this would allow them to save for Tucker and see if they can. Because the other part of the Tucker thing is making sure that the prospects can play.
Yeah.
If the prospects can play, you can afford to spend some big money on your consolidated war player, whatever Jed wants to call him. I call him a star, right? Like,
yeah.
if you're going to go spend $400-500 million on one player, then the way the Cubs are probably showing us that they might do it, is that you would have to have affordable players on the rest of the team. They're not going to be the Yankees or the Mets or the Phillies. They're not going to do that. They've shown us that over and over. But would they do that for one player if they have a rookie playing at third base, if they have a rookie playing as their fourth outfielder, if they have Seiya coming off the books and Happ coming off the books in 2 years? Like, you have to look at this. Jed even talked about it today in his press conference. You have to look at this as a multi-move chessboard. And so where are the chess pieces going at one time? The easy move to look at is and say, oh, he moved it diagonally and it's a salary dump. It might be. It's most likely a salary dump. But it's also possible they're moving some chess pieces around because they've been told by management and ownership, you got to be more creative. I'm not just going to give you one of the three biggest payrolls in all of baseball, but I'll give you the biggest one in the division again. And here, you decide how you want to do it. Well, we told Jed he's got to be creative. Is this a way he's being creative, or is he just dumping salary? I'm going to hold judgment right now. The obvious answer is it's a salary dump. I don't hate it.
No,
I don't, because of the Casey thing. Like, if you want to see what Owen Casey is, yes. Does it make this team definitely better for next year? No, it does not, unless the money is used for a closer and a starter, yada yada yada.
Listen, if this organization was just going to completely shift and change its perception, then a lot of fans in our chat right now that are upset about this, if they're going to change perception here, they'd use this money to go sign like Alex Bregman or go sign Corbin Burns or something like that. I don't think they're going to do that, but like
definitely not Burns. No shot.
That would be something a big market team would do. In this instance, again, though, the pro of this is like they were legitimately blocking Owen Casey, and you can even throw in Kevin Alcantara on that too. And I know a lot of fans love Owen Casey. Hell, last week I was getting yelled at because I said I'd move Casey for Tucker, right? Yes. So if everyone in this chat loves Owen Casey, you moved Bellinger so you could play him next year and you could see him. There was no way that there would have been a spot for Casey to play next year if you had Happ, PCA, Tucker, Bellinger, and Seiya. There was no way, because they were never going to move Michael Busch off first base. And Jed Hoyer said as much in his press conference today. So I think fans just have to come to that reality, you know. In terms of why it was done, yes, I understand frustration, and I'm right there with you. All right. But I think it also does factor into opportunities for young guys. And we've all been waiting for Owen Casey. And I don't know how they'll implement him next year, even with Bellinger off the roster, but it certainly opens up an opportunity for him for sure next season with Bellinger gone. And they weren't going to move Seiya. And because of the no trade clause is a possibility. And also, like, I think there's, not only is he cheaper, but he was a better hitter for you last year too. He's been a better hitter than Bellinger the last 2 years. I think you can make the argument for that. So, yeah, I mean, it's just what it is. So to me, I think this money can be used to get a starting pitcher, maybe a higher end bullpen arm that a lot of fans of, especially Godfathers, but pointing out in our chat for the last 3 years. I don't know who, but I think that this money, I think we'd all feel a lot better if they use this money to make the team better. And I think they will. I legitimately think they will. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. And it's better than using the trade market for everything.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and that's kind of the thing they were kind of telling us at the winter meetings, that they weren't really active in the free agent market. Now that this contract is off the books, they can. The Delulu in me wants to believe that maybe there's a higher end player that they haven't been linked to, that maybe they will get linked to. But I just think that at the very least, they need to add a starting pitcher. They need to get in on the reliever market. I would like for them to use this money on the reliever market more so than anything else. So,
all right. We'll talk more about Cody Bellinger being traded to the Yankees in this emergency podcast in just a second. But first, want to tell you about some of our great sponsors. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your holidays. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with an easy online ordering or in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign, as far north as South Beloit. Stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco and Floracal. Available now. Good news. Limited time offer. Island Vibes and Sunnyside's Scratch and Stash is back this holiday season. Receive a scratch-off card every time you shop, now through December 31st, or while supplies last. Every card is a winner. You could win big, like 50% off or $100 off your next purchase. Hurry in to see what you win. I'm picking up Mindy Segal's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside, so I have something to give Corey Friedman coming up this holiday season. You can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 and older, or Illinois medical card holders. You know, some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, and Blue Moon isn't just another beer. It's a whole different experience. So why strike out with the same old beer when you can get something that's one of a kind? A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all holiday season long. Bring the ballpark to you. With Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale, it's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Yes, if you're tuning into the CHGO Cubs podcast, this is podcast number 2, the 2 for Tuesday. What did we have, about 25 minutes between podcasts?
Yeah, I mean,
I made it halfway to Target to pick up my mom. I was picking up my mom to take her to Target. Made it halfway there.
I literally didn't move from my seat. I was in the process of putting our podcast up on our website. So, and then I was, like I said, I was jumping in our Discord to talk with the sickos. So, yeah, no, it broke almost immediately. So,
let's see here. Let's see. I wanted to get to some of the comments. Oh, James says, "Hey, Walker Buehler and Kirby Yates, let's go." Okay, there's an example.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that adds up. I'll be honest. I don't know if that adds up financially to the money that you just would have lost over potentially 2 years of Cody Bellinger. But let's just say they go out and they sign Walker Buehler similar to the Bellinger deal, in a prove-it type year. Like, he can get a huge contract, but I don't think he's getting the huge contract that he really wants because of the injury. So let's say Walker Buehler and Kirby, the closer potentially that they're looking for, a guy that closed a lot for the Rangers last year. Would that make you happy if they substituted that for Cody Bellinger?
Yeah, I think if you can go back to old audio of us talking about Buehler, I think it's a great opportunity. You know, we talked about Yoan Moncada yesterday, and the thing about Yoan Moncada is that he really hasn't been good since 2019, and he's been hurt a lot. This Buehler situation, you know, he had Tommy John surgery, came back last year, made like 16 starts, wasn't very good, had some good moments in the postseason with the Dodgers, but what, 30, 31, somewhere around?
It's not like he's a young guy.
Right. But he has a proven pedigree. He has had success for more than just 1 year. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say there's been a streak of bad years to go with that. So I think with Buehler, it's all about health, right? But I think there's a lot of proven success there. And so I'm here for it. I don't think that I don't necessarily like that if they do that, he would be the headliner. I don't know if it stops them for being in on Roki. I would hope not, considering how cheap Roki is going to be. So maybe if you're telling me you get the crystal ball out, Luke, and you're telling me Buehler, eventually Roki Sasaki, and you add Kirby Yates as a veteran arm that can close for you, that's an upgrade from what you had, based off of what you had. Now, again, I still think one of those controllable arms in Seattle or even Jesus Luzardo is a good route as well. I think there's more upside with any of those guys. Maybe not so much Luis Castillo, but any of the young arms. I think there's upside there. But again, that's via the trade market. So it depends on how those trade conversations are going. And we're talking about signing free agents with this money, right? So for the sake of this exercise, yeah, I don't hate this route. And Buehler is definitely would be on. I wouldn't even call it a prove it. It's more of just like a build up value, because his value isn't exactly high right now. Even though he got the last out of the World Series, his value isn't exactly high right now. So he's going to be motivated to get a better contract after 1 year with the Cubs potentially, if that's the route. So in Yates, he's older. I think there's concern from people about him being older, but he was solid last year with for the Rangers. And he's been solid his entire career. So I think that they're both upgrades at the very least. I think they certainly make the team better if you just look at their numbers on paper and you look at them as players in the league and what they've been throughout their careers. But there's certainly questions, but there's questions with everyone. But yeah, I don't know.
You could talk me into a path if they started spending a little more money here in the types of players that we're talking about. You could talk me into a path that I could say, yes, this is better than having Cody Bellinger. On the flip side, if you look at it, the big problem with it is there goes another left-handed bat that probably had the next highest home run potential on the team next to Tucker, right? A guy that had been an MVP. Now it's getting further and further away, but a left-handed bat that we know they need, and they need offensive pop. Now, injuries have slowed down a lot of that. I don't know if I don't remember what grade I gave Bellinger for this year. I would assume it was an A in year one. It was probably a B or something like that, or, somewhere around a B level in year two.
I think I gave him a C or a C+.
Yeah, but it was because of the money, not necessarily because he was bad, right? Or I wouldn't even say he was average. Like he's a good player. They have taken one of the 5 best players on the team and shipped him out in what appears to be potentially a huge salary dump.
I think
that part's not good.
Right.
But if you can reallocate it into something else, there is a path that you can look at, and I can get on board with, where I would say, yeah. I could see that, especially even if it's not a starter, if they would double up in the bullpen. Like, I don't think you can have enough arms in the bullpen. And I know you can say that about the starter, but I guess the money would allow you to not trade more of the prospects if you wanted to. Sure. Right? Like if you were going to go trade prospects to get Luzardo, this might allow you to spend money to get that pitcher instead of the prospects to get that pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to hold on to your future. Yeah. Like that's the pro of spending money. Right. Yeah. I'll push back on your thoughts about Bellinger being like the second highest home run potential, I guess. Like I do legitimately think there's more power in Michael Busch's bat. And he's a left-handed bat. So you have Tucker, you have Michael Busch. And I know he hasn't played at the level yet, but Owen Casey is there. He will get that opportunity, and we will see. And Ian Happ also mainly hits left-handed. And surprisingly, he was better from the right-handed side this past season than I think for his entire career. We'll see if he can continue to do that. But we see him hit left-handed a lot, right? He led the team in homers.
They said the chats, we apparently gave Bellinger C's.
Yeah, that okay. Sounds right, because he made $27.5 million, and he didn't. I think if he would have played more like 23, the Cubs probably win more games. But not only did he get hurt twice, and 2 times that I've openly said that I can't necessarily blame him for. I can't blame him for getting hit by a pitch and running a freak accident, running into the wall, just whatever. But at the end of the day, the numbers just weren't there. He didn't even hit 20 homers this past year. He had a WRC plus of like 110. And he had like a 130 plus WRC plus in 23. So it definitely wasn't as good as 23. He was fine, but he wasn't what they're paying him to be. And I think that's why we gave him C's. But anyway, I just think that there is upside here with a lot of the guys they have. While I think there is a lot of like, God, we say it so much, like hoping or maybe some wishing here. Like, will Matt Shaw be great right away? I don't know. And it's the same thing with Casey. I don't know. I think you got to get him in there to let them go through some lumps, go through the process of going through a major league season. And the thing is they need soft landings. That's what you need with your young players. So I think they're in position to at least be that. But at the end of the day, this team shouldn't be banking on these guys to provide a 3+ WAR. You know what I mean? If they do, awesome. And if they do, and then you get everything else from all the guys that you're paying at the top dollar, like, yeah, we could be talking about a playoff team. But so I do find myself sitting here thinking like, man, I'm doing a lot of hoping and wishing here. So it just depends again what they do with this money. Maybe they do go get someone to play third base and kind of help Shaw at third base. I don't know, but
I don't think it's Bregman. Everybody in the chat is asking for Bregman. I think that's big time wishing and hoping. That's just feeling.
It's big time wishing and hoping. But man, if I open up the X app and see Jeff Passan talking about Alex Bregman to the Cubs, will I have to look a couple times just to like make sure I'm living in reality? Because I don't know, man. Like this deal is all about what's next. And I've always thought since these rumors really heated up, I always thought they would use this money to go towards pitching. So, Jed's got to be right about Shaw and Casey and the opportunity. He's got to be right about it. That's that at the end of the day, that he's got to be right. I do think that while I don't think they necessarily will be in big pressure situations, especially Casey. It's not like he's going to be starting a right field opening day. He won't even be DHing opening day. Say it will. Like, he will get an opportunity, I think, when the time is right, when they might need an offensive boost of sorts, right? Shaw, on the other hand, though, like, if he is your opening day third baseman, I do think that there's more star potential there than a lot of the Cubs prospects. So I'm comfortable with letting it play out, but you can't tell me you're not a little concerned, at least, just because he's never proven anything, right? But at the end of the day, we need to see him, So I think if they're able to add more pitching, bolster up that rotation a little bit, and get a little bit more experience in the bullpen, and I can buy in a little bit more on run prevention if your pitching staff is good and you're set in the back end of your bullpen while we go through the ups and downs of Shaw if he's starting at third base opening day. It's not the worst case scenario if Matt Shaw is starting at third base opening day. To me, I'd rather Shaw start at third base opening day than if they went and got Yoel Moncada. You know what I mean? I personally would rather them go through the ups and downs of being a rookie player with Shaw than signing someone like that and hoping that they strike lightning in a bottle. So, yeah.
I just hope there's more moves coming.
Sure.
Somebody asked about commented about Roki and how that would impact. I don't think this has anything to do with Roki. I think the Cubs are making that play as hard as they can, as just like everybody else. And the one thing that getting Roki would do, now that again would be something that would push you to potentially be able to sign a guy like Tucker to a long-term extension. If you can have quality starting pitching in control at an affordable rate, AKA Steele, somewhat Imanaga, and go on down the list with guys like Horton and that coming up, maybe Ben Brown.
Yeah.
And you throw Roki in there, that's a great place to save money, especially if you can start doing it at third base and at first base, yada, yada, yada. Those are ways that maybe somehow the Cubs could keep Tucker, which right now seems like one of the most important things to the team.
Sure. I hope so, Luke. I hope so after what you just moved for him. So, yeah, I think my advice to fans is just kind of step back and acknowledge the fact that, like, it's all about what happens next. And they're not blocking Owen Casey anymore.
No.
And I think it means it shows even more that Owen Casey's not getting traded. I know he was like kind of linked to Luzardo. I never really thought the Cubs were serious about including Casey. Maybe the Marlins are asking about him. It's kind of like with Seiya in the Tucker trade. Like, his name was thrown out there, but he wasn't part of the trade. I lean to believe the Cubs are not going to move Casey. It would be shocking to me if they moved Casey. But yeah, Triantos possibility if that trade does play out.
Jay in the live YouTube chat is asking, is even a possibility that Happ or Bush would play second or third? The answer is no. Like, we know Happ's not going back to the infield, and asked about it today, Jed Hoyer said, no, we see Bush as a Gold Glove first baseman. Now, while he has that versatility and he could do it, his best value to us is as a first baseman and potentially a Gold Glove first baseman. And hopefully he plays like he did last year, only one level better, right? Like, hopefully he takes the next step after his rookie season, which had some ups and downs throughout it, but overall was very, very good. Listen, Bellinger's gone. You can look at it however you want. We just don't know quite yet. Was it a lot of money to play for a guy to be your potentially fourth outfielder and your swing man at first base and flexibility? It was. But you're also the Chicago Cubs. So it would have been – it's an interesting dilemma that they had, but I think all along, as soon as he opted in, the Cubs were like, okay, how can we trade him?
Yeah.
They were hoping that he was going to opt out of this deal, and it just didn't happen. Listen, we got 522 people that have joined in live to talk about Bellinger. Do you want to do one more segment, or do you want to call it here? There's not a whole – I don't think there's a whole lot to say about it anymore. Like, they got a reliever.
You guys don't have 15 minutes about Cody Poteet?
No, I don't have anything to say about him.
Okay.
I'll say that he's like 30 years old and he only has like 3 years in the league. So he's kind of like, could you say he's a journeyman? I guess. He was with Miami, found his way to the Yankees. Listen, when it comes to arms, do not underrate this Cubs pitching developmental staff, man. No one thought Mark Leiter Jr. was any good.
Yeah, I heard somebody compare him to that. Somebody, Baseball Junkie, said he's similar to Mark Leiter Jr. Okay, then I'm on board.
Yeah. But we'll see how he's used.
About though.
At the very least, he's a guy that comes in the spring, tries to make the roster. I really don't know how they view him, obviously. So, yeah, but I like how Ryan looks at it. They were thinking he would opt out, he didn't, so they traded him and they got something for him. And they were never going to get anything great unless they ate some of the money.
Right.
Like a lot of people thought Will Warren was going to be in the return, but the Yankees end up eating all the money.
Right. Which was the most important part potentially to the Cubs.
Sure, yeah.
No matter what they intend to do with the money, it was the most important part.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, we're back at 11:30 tomorrow. This was a 2 for Tuesday. You got 2 podcasts out of us in one day. If the Cubs make another trade, call Ryan Herrera. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We'll see you tomorrow, 11:30 again. Thanks for watching. 530 people strong. We appreciate you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.